and welcome to Amplified, where we amplify the politics and policies impacting Black and brown communities. Happy President's Day. I'm Laverne McGee, in for Aisha Mills this week. Tonight, we begin with a discussion about student loan debt. U.S. student borrowers have accrued trillions of dollars in debt to pursue higher education. In order to alleviate the financial burden that comes with paying off loans, many borrowers apply for income-driven repayment plans, or IDRs. So IDR plans use the borrower's income and family size to determine how much they should pay monthly. And while these plans largely meet the goal to help prevent borrowers from defaulting on loans, researchers say redesigns need to address enrollment, affordability, and balanced growth in order to help those people who are struggling. As the data stream grows, so do the concerns about the challenges that some borrowers face as they attempt to lighten the load brought on by student debt. Persis Yu joins me now to help unpack the benefits and obstacles that come with IDRs. She's the policy director and managing counsel for the Student Borrower Protection Center. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's start with the obvious. Who is an income-driven repayment plan best designed for?
Yeah, hello, and thank you so much for having me here tonight. So income-driven repayment, it's been around actually for a couple of decades, but been very little much underutilized for the beginning parts of it. But income during repayment was started so that students could be assured that when they go into repayment, those payments would be affordable, and that would not result in a lifetime of student debt. Each of the plans results in cancellation after 20 or 25 years. So it is very beneficial, especially for folks who are experiencing financial difficulty or long-term financial difficulty, and folks who choose to go into professions that don't pay as well.
Yeah, I mean, we have continually heard this conversation about student debt, and we all know there's a racial wealth gap that Black Americans have to overcome, and many borrowers find that IDRs don't properly take into consideration certain factors relating to income. One survey reveals that nearly a quarter of borrowers still struggle to pay rent and other expenses, while 71% say that they can't afford a savings account. So how could changes to IDR policies help bridge the racial wealth gap?
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that the student loan crisis really is a racial justice crisis. Borrowers of color rely on student loan debt disproportionately to go to school. They take on more debt, and because of the racial wealth gap and and payment disparities, they have a harder time paying it back. Um, Income to repayment could be the answer for many people, but people struggle to get into the plans because of servicer misinformation. They struggle to stay in the plans because of the over bureaucratic process, and a lot of people, as you mentioned, struggle to afford the payments. We've advocated for policy changes that would make the plans more generous, provide cancellation. As borrowers go, but also there needs to be accountability to the services to ensure that borrowers who need these plans are able to access them. We saw some accountability with the recent settlement by 39 state attorneys general against Navient, but there needs to be more aggressive oversight by the federal government and by the states to ensure that borrowers really are able to access these rights. But we also do need to see fundamental changes in the plan to make it more affordable for folks.
Persis, another common critique that borrowers have with IDR plans are the high interest rates that really prevent them from making a dent in their payment plans. So what's being done to address that issue?
Yeah, so there are a number of proposals on the table. I mean, one of the things about the way that income driven payment works is that sometimes, especially for borrowers who have larger balances, is that they see their balances grow because the payments don't even cover the total interest amount. So there have been proposals on the table that would, either reduce interest, or if a borrower's payment doesn't even cover that amount, to have the government subsidize any unpaid interest. Of course, there is also legislation to reduce interest rates in Congress as well.
Okay, so the forbearance was extended until January of this year, but a lot of the decisions around forgiveness are still up in the air. So what is the Biden administration's timeline on this?
Right. So right now we have the payment pause up through May 1st. And a lot of folks are very much wondering what Biden is going to do with student loan cancellation. This was a promise that he had made during the campaign that he would provide widespread cancellation to all student loan borrowers. He has provided some to some discrete populations, but a lot of borrowers really are waiting to see when that will happen. Um, yet to be seen when that happens, but it certainly is a promise that he made. It would make a big difference if that happened before payments restarted, which is currently scheduled for May.
So help us understand. Let's just say that student loan debt is forgiven in some form. How would
Right.
Black borrowers get equity out of that?
Well, the proposal by Senators Schumer and Senators Warren, actually for up to $50,000 of cancellation for all federal student loan borrowers, is one of would reduce dramatically reduce the debt load of particularly for Black borrowers. 93% of Black borrowers in default would see their entire loan balances eliminated. It has been estimated by some economists that widespread debt cancellation of up to $50,000 could actually dramatically reduce the racial wealth gap. We know that, as we mentioned before, Black students rely on student loans disproportionately to white students. So we do believe that it would have a disproportionate benefit for Black student loan borrowers.
So really, how then can the Biden administration change federal student loan policies to make it so that borrowers don't have to worry about this long-term and mounting debt?
Yeah. I mean, I think the first thing we need to acknowledge is that the student loan system is broken and it is disproportionately hurting borrowers of color and low income borrowers. Widespread cancellation would do a lot to clear out, if you will, the portfolio, clear the books of a lot of debts that's never going to be repaid, and then that shrinks the portfolio, which makes it actually easier for us to move forward and have a functioning system where we can get borrowers into the payment plans that would actually help them eliminate their debts in the long term.
I mean, it's not a functioning system. So
It's not.
why do they continue to keep things like this?
In some ways, we have a system that is too big to fail. We've seen for many years servicers that have failed student loan borrowers, but not a lot of options about what to do with those borrowers if we were to fire those servicers. So this is one of the reasons why we do think that cancellation is one of the answers to actually solving the system. Is we need to shrink the portfolio to get it back under control so that we can have something that is functioning. Long term, we really do need to see a solution to the higher education crisis as a whole so that we don't see people accumulating as much debt to begin with.
Do you have any advice for students at all, or people who are struggling, not necessarily students, but people still struggling with their student debt loan?
Yeah, I mean, I think the reality is that folks need to educate themselves about what rights they have in the student loan system. One website that folks should become familiar with is studentaid.gov. It will tell folks, what kind of loans they even have, which is actually one of the biggest barriers that folks have is they don't know what rights they have because they don't know what kind of loans they have. So all of the federal student loans are available on studentaid.gov for folks. They should log in, find out what kind of loans they have, learn about their options. And unfortunately, the system that we have, that borrowers really do have to be proactive about seeking out their rights. And when problems come up, they need to complain. They need to complain to the Department of Education. They need to complain to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and they need to complain to their state attorney general.
Okay, so when I get one of those telemarketers, one of those phone calls, and somebody telling me you can eliminate student debt, all of it, it's fake, right?
That's most likely going to be fake. Yes, unfortunately, if it sounds too good to be true, it is.
Yeah, there's really no way you can just wipe out that debt.
Yep, President Biden has the authority to wipe out that debt, but unfortunately, these student loan scammers do not.
Yeah, he promised. So people need to keep the pressure on the Biden administration.
That's right.
Persis, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate your time and all of this great information. Take care.